What did you feel unprepared for transitioning from your athletic career into being an entrepreneur?
I mean, everything. My financial advisor, when I first got in the league, was an older gentleman, good old boy out of Lexington, Kentucky. One of my teammates introduced me to him. And he was definitely, really old school. Like every time I would bring him a deal or whatever, if it wasn't like Berkshire Hathaway stock or like something that had a 15-year track record, he would always shoot it down. But finally, I would bring him so much stuff. He said, well, if you really want to do these deals, do it, give me, reasons why you should actually do it. You know what I'm saying? And, when he did that, it made me start doing my own research when I will bring a deal, right? And I would say that's what started to develop me as an entrepreneur, you know what I'm saying? But to be honest, coming out of high school, I went to, St. Patrick's, and I'm not gonna say that was the best high school education ever, but it definitely prepared me to handle millions of dollars and be able to make strategic investments and different things like that. It was something that I really had to learn on my own, and I definitely had some losses, we definitely had some wins, but, I would say, having the financial advisor guy that I had at the time, he definitely helped develop me into, becoming a better entrepreneur. When I think about the future, right, it's like, most college athletes aren't gonna play professional, right? So you've obviously had this big, unbelievable college career, but you never get a chance to really, benefit from it, right? But I think with these new opportunities, with these kids working with some of these startup companies and different things like that, like if I was their agent, like I would ask for equity, right? Because who knows, maybe Hyper Ice might have sponsored me, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't get pro, I didn't make it pro, but now look at the success of this company, but I was one of the guys that was there in the beginning to help build it, you know what I'm saying? So when I think about it from that perspective, I'm really excited that these athletes will now have this opportunity. So I just hope that the people that are structuring the deals for them are doing it in a way that, hopefully they can monetize from it, even when they're done playing.
Yeah, hopefully they have people advising them that kind of, to your point now, give them that equity mindset around it rather than that cash mindset around it. Because the cash is so fleeting. You got to keep bringing the cash register for those sponsor posts or whatever it might be versus you get equity in something like Hyper Ice and look what it turns out. I mean, like 50 Cent was the classic example of that with the vitamin water deal and what he made out of that. So, Al, I'm curious to ask you about what you're doing in terms of building your business. And it's really, it's on the frontier of regulatory change in the cannabis industry, CBD, everything that's happening there. What have you experienced? What have been the unique challenges of building right on the forefront of a regulatory paradigm shift?
I think I'm a little crazy because when I first started, it wasn't like it is now. Now it's popular. Right now you see everybody, Jay-Z, Chris Webber, everybody's putting their name on a fund, this, that, and the third. I started this 11 years ago, right? And while I was still playing. So that financial advisor guy I was just telling y'all about, he dropped me because I made the investment in the cannabis, because he told me I'm not going to jail helping you embezzle money, right? And so, for me, in the beginning, it was literally, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I just really believed in, the power of the plant. And for me, my start in cannabis was, my grandmother, my 79-year-old grandmother had come to see me play in Denver, and she, I bought her in the house, she had this bag, she told me to bring it back upstairs, and it was a pill bag, and she started taking all this medication. I just asked her, Grandma, why are you taking so much medication? And she gave me a whole list of things, but one of the things that stuck out was glaucoma. So I told her 2 days before, I was reading in the newspaper about how cannabis helped, glaucoma patients, it cured them, is what I'm telling them. I don't know what the hell, I just saw an article. And, she was like, well, what is cannabis? And I said, it's marijuana, it's weed. She's like, reefer? She's like, why ain't smoking no reefer? She's like, reefer ain't gonna help my eyes. So she told me no. So the next day, I came home, and I always say this was God working. And she was in the kitchen, and when I walked in, she was squinting, and I'm like, what's up? She's like, my eyes hurt so bad today I can barely see. So I just said to her, I said, Grandma, you taking all that medication is obviously not working. Why don't you give cannabis a try? And she said, I'm in so much pain today, I'll try anything. So fast forward, I had a friend of mine go to the dispensary, bought a strain back called Vietnam Kush. We put in a volcano bag of all things. So I got a stone. But I took her down, so I had her, she tried it, I took her downstairs, I went and took my nap. It was game day. So an hour and a half later, I wake up, I go down. So I remember the first time I had ever smoked was in Phoenix, Arizona with my team, Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, and all of them. And they gave me some shit that had me stoned. So I remember like that feeling. I was like, I'll never smoke weed again. I'm like, they smoked to feel like this. I was paranoid, the whole thing. So when I got up, I was like, let me go make sure my grandmother's okay. So when I go downstairs, I knock on the door and I don't hear anything. So I knock again and I open the door and her back's to the door and she's looking down. And I was just like, you know, Grandma, how you feeling? And she turned around and she was crying tears and she said, I'm healed. She said, you know, I haven't been able to read the words in my Bible in over 3 years. So she was downstairs reading her Bible, you know, after she tried cannabis for the first time. So that's what inspired me to learn more. And, you know, I had went to cultivation and I saw there was opportunity there. So called my cousin who is my co-founder and I just, you know, we looked around a different place in Colorado and I just said, you think we can do this? And he was like, we'll figure it out. And that's what we started doing, was figuring it out. You know, I remember the first attorney I got, he was supposed to be the weed czar. He didn't know shit. Like literally everything he told me to do was wrong, right? But, you know, I persevered and we figured it out. But, you know, to be honest, you know, being in the NBA and all the resources we have, like we know people from all walks of life, right? And, you know, anybody will take our phone call. But 11 years ago, when you want to call them about weed, they damn near want to talk to you. They're like trying to get off the phone. So it was nowhere that I could really turn for advice really, but people in my community, right? And what I would do is I'd go home for the summer and I would see like, you know, the OGs that have been selling weed and whatever forever, and I would just ask them for advice. And they were the ones that first told me, like, if it's good product, it'll sell itself, right? And that's what we've been doing, like, as a brand, just being, you know, having super high quality product, and that has been very true for us for 10 years. It literally sells itself, you know what I'm saying? So from that to just all the regulatory environment stuff, you know, applying for licenses, like people don't understand like that process is like, it's so invasive, right? You know, literally, you know, in 7 states in the United States here, there's employees that make $30,000, $40,000 that has all of my information, like everything, every car loan, house loan, this loan, whatever, like everything. You know, you have to give all of that information just to be able to get a license. You know what I'm saying? So it's been very challenging. It's been a lot of fun, you know, but you know, at the end of the day, I am part of a group of people that are pioneering the industry. And as we all know, a lot of times the pioneers are the ones that, you know, come back with arrows in their backs or whatever. So I'm trying to fight that as well. You know what I'm saying? But it's been good, man. And, you know, I think the main thing to like what you was talking about is like, you know, the guys that stepped up for me in regards to making investments when in the early stages where like, you know, I knew what I was doing, but I was talking a better game than what was really going on. You know what I'm saying? Guys like Josh, you know, Josh is one of my first investors in our company. So, you know, having those guys and having them as resources and being able to reach out and, you know, I need a post here, I need you to show up for this here. You know, all those different things has just been really good. And, you know, it's just, it's definitely not easy. You know, I do a lot of lobbying. You know, that's a big part of it. You know, I talk to Chuck Schumer all the time about, you know, federal legalization and how it should look, because one of the things that's very important, I want to speak on real quick, is like ownership for black people in cannabis, right? Because right now we represent less than 3% of the industry. But when you look historically, we're the only ones that got locked up for it. 85% of all drug arrests in any black neighborhood in the United States was cannabis related. You know, and when you think about that, none of us own farms, none of us own trucking companies, like we don't own none of that, right? So those people are never affected, but we're the ones getting caught with nickel bags and roach clips in the car and our lives being destroyed forever. So what we're trying to do is represent and create opportunities for people of color to actually participate, and not just jobs. Jobs is cool and all that, but I'm off that shit. Like, we want ownership, and that's why you'll see I'm always talking about equity. You know what I'm saying? Because especially in cannabis, it's owed to us this time around, you know, and that's what I'm trying to make sure that's always on the forefront and trying to create those opportunities.